Welcome everyone to the Win Now podcast, hosted by Deborah Byrd, founder and CEO of Plug and Play SM.
I am so excited for today's show, so let's go.
And then myself, Todd Bookspan, founder of Win by Noon. Welcome everyone to another episode of the Win Now podcast. I am Todd Bookspan, the founder of Win by Noon, and I'm very excited you are here. We are joined today by my co-host, none other than the CEO of Plug and Play SM, Deborah Byrd. What's up, Deborah?
Happy Monday. Hopefully those of you who are watching this live, you feel brightened by my highlighter attire that's supposed to make me look like a 90s kid today. So
I didn't get the memo. I didn't get the memo, or I would have figured something else out. But yes, you do look awesomely bright.
Thank you.
Perfect
way to start the week, right? What'd you say, Kai?
3 highlighter colors.
Yes.
3 best highlighter colors.
See, Glinda already said the 80s jacket is baller. I just wish it's not technically the same material as the 80s, but I wanted to give that vibe since I was born in the 80s and a 90s kid. So let's bring back.
And I just showed Deb what my 80s costume was at an event one time. I'm going to have to show this group. Can I just show it real quick?
Yes.
I'll
formally introduce you, Kai.
I went to an 80s party and I wore this. So, it's kind of the same.
Well, like Julie just said in the comments, it's coming back. Yeah. Sometimes some of those staples, those basics come back. I know Kai doesn't.
I would have pulled out my Madonna shirt from one of my concerts I went to back. Probably was in the 90s though, but come on, that would be good.
What's so funny is Julie just said in the comments, is Kai even old enough to be born in the 80s? And a little secret, guys, either you just had your 50th birthday or your 50th birthday is this year. Which one was it, Kai?
It freaks people out, but remember, I'm Asian. I could be 17 or 76. I am a child born in the 70s. And yes. I'm going to be 50 in exactly 12 days. So,
12 days, that. Crazy.
Welcome to my generation.
Yeah.
Or my decade, I guess. So why don't you do a proper introduction here?
I was going to say, for just in case those who may not know you, this is Khai McBride, the OG, who was also an originator back in the day, top producer, and has really kind of created this unbelievable platform where I know you're mostly known for your database management and relationship, just how to acquire new contacts and then nurture them, but also just systems and processes. And then now what I love is even, marketing and staying up to date with how to modernize your mortgage practice, which you're one of the few that I hear that talk about this, even for an old guy. Just kidding.
Well,
not an old guy.
Being an old guy like Madonna, I actually use her as a reference because I've had to reinvent myself every year for 23 years. And so if we're not adjusting and adapting and evolving with times, we're just going to find ourselves obsolete. And one of the things, there's a saying with coaches that we're not always the smartest people, but we sit and analyze and recognize patterns. And there are some very, very, very clear patterns that I've recognized in the last 24 months that are just really life-changing for this entire industry. And if we think that this is some blip, this 2022, 2023 year compared to other years, we keep talking about 2008. I'm going to go on record saying that this is what we're going to see for the next 5 to 10 years. And like the title of this session, if you don't evolve, you may die out like the dinosaur of the La Brea tar pits, getting stuck in the old ways. And I think that it's being proven that the old ways, it's not that they don't work or they haven't been proven in the past, but they're becoming less effective because people are doing the same thing with lesser results. And then we're being told, as a result of that, well, just keep doing more of it. So now we're doing 2 to 3 times of the same thing and getting lesser results. So something is wrong with the formula. All
right. So time out. So you think that the market that we're in now is going to be the same rumbling pace of a market for 5 to 10 years?
Yes. At least 5.
All right. So that's perfect then to hear all the things that you're going to tell us that we need to do in order to be successful over the next at least 5 years.
At least 5 years. And some of the things are so there are some things that definitely for the next 10 years, specifically the generational change. Millennials are 40 years old already. and Gen Z is 26-ish or something like that. So these are the two dominant buying markets. This is not like 10 years ago when Gen X, my generation, the boomers were buying. How millennials and how Gen Z consume, purchase, research is completely different. The way that they use the internet, the way they use validation, the way they use social proof, the way they use smartphones to get all of their information and buying decisions. And also millennials are they need validation. They won't see their first opinion. They'll look for social proof amongst their peers or amongst the internet first before making decisions. And so if you don't have that type of presence for your own social proof, then you don't have any backing for them to choose you. And that's like a small example. But other things, I mean, how far they're going to last. And I've got a couple diagrams on this. Some of this comes from MBS Highway. Some of it I've just pulled off of the internet, but like they posted this in MBS Highway. Look at the inventory differences. I'm missing the top of my chart, but this is up in the millions, and our inventory now is 980,000. So we're 75% less in inventory, but also let's look at population changes. So Gen X, 65 million, 68 million boomers. Millennials were a much bigger generation, 82 million. Gen Z's coming in strong at 80 something million too. So there's 20 more million people per generation buying. And don't know about you, but baby boomers haven't really died yet. So they're still holding onto the properties. Gen X is holding onto the properties and renting. And so where's the inventory going to come from? We're running out of space. We're just going to start stacking houses on top of houses. So that's a problem. And what it's created two things. And what Denise, Deborah's sister, calls it's the shift. We have a shift in market inventory, but we also have a shift in consumer and buying behaviors. And so what are we doing to adjust for that shift? And one thing that's really, really prevalent, and there's also a shift in technology. The mortgage industry is a very, very heavy sales industry for the last 20 years. That's all we ever talk about is sales, 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 sales. What we don't talk about a lot is marketing. And if you look at every other industry is dominated by marketing. The question is, why have we not been dominated by marketing? And why is it so relevant now? Well, we haven't been dominated by marketing because marketing historically has been extremely expensive. When we wanted to do marketing, we would have to do print, we would have to do direct mail, we would have to do things that loan officers couldn't really afford as an individual. Companies could, right? You could join like a call center company where they're just spitting out direct mail and you're getting leads for like 50 basis points, 30 basis points. But if you're an originator, you don't come off the bat with that type of budget to create like your own mini call center. Or
like a Super Bowl ad.
Right. Television ads, radio ads, you can't afford that. Okay. So we always relied on direct sales because it was cheap. I could basically get a license, get a phone, and I could start making calls. Here's the issue though. A couple things is that this new generation, they don't even pick up the phone. So when I hear the age-old cliche is you want to make money, just pick up your phone. Well, have fun getting a millennial or a Gen Z to answer. I have a higher chance of sending a Snapchat direct message or an Instagram direct message and having them respond versus actually picking up the phone. So the days of sales calls are starting to wean down. So we're in the world of text messages, direct message, social. But what we've also experienced is in the last several years, marketing is now super, super cheap, which is Deb's area, right? How cheap is it to form a social media presence? How cheap is it for you to start a YouTube channel? I mean, I'm from Los Angeles, and the condo that I moved away from, we had probably 20, 30 influencers in their 20s just making hundreds of thousands of millions by starting YouTube channels for free, right? So we have all these marketing outlets now. You can basically create marketing for like either free or like less than $1,000. Okay. And here's
just your time. That's
right,
it. It's
just
really
your time. Right. And like the really big shift is, especially when it comes to not just consumers, but let's look at our competition. Have you guys been paying attention to like the young generation coming in, the originators and the realtors that are coming in? They're setting up Instagram accounts like nothing. They're marketing like nothing. They're getting in front of video like nothing. And then the old generation, the 40-year-olds or 45-year-olds, I don't like the way I look on video. Oh my gosh, I'm so embarrassed. 22, 25, 30-year-old originator comes, right away, boom, they're putting it in front of their face. They're creating a social media presence faster in 2 weeks than I've ever seen. So competition is changing. This is for those of you that have been in the industry for a long period of time. This is who we're competing against. So that's another part of the shift. It's the competition shift. It's a huge competition shift. And there's a lot more. the brokers have changed the game because they've created a big disparity in rates. Now, this isn't a broker versus banker conversation, but when you have a disparity in rates and everything else that I've mentioned, competition becomes higher. So now going back to sales, how are you selling? Are you still selling over the phone? Are you still pitching rates over the phone? Are you doing value? So, I mean, this is just the basis for why there's a shift, period. Mm-hmm. And if you've been doing the age-old pick up the phones and coffee meetings and things like that, well, let's talk about that. There's this age-old meet with realtor, have coffee. But you know what? We're also finding out when there's less inventory, sometimes there's not enough business in your markets, or the realtors don't even have business to give you. They don't have any business to give you right now. The realtors, they'll have coffee with you. They'll love you. They don't have any business to give you. So then where do you go? So you're in a saturated market. This is the age now with technology, with Zoom, with marketing, with smartphones, that I believe every loan officer should be licensed in 5 different states and go outside of your local region. And it's possible now because I can call a realtor 3 states away and set up a Zoom coffee. I can change my background to Starbucks and I can have a Zoom meeting. I actually have an example of that, right? So this is like the new age, and there's so many things, there's so many things that we can do. We can adapt and adjust. But again, and I've got slides for all this, but I'm just answering the question, is that there is a huge shift. And I don't even really have to say this. I think every single person on this webinar right now has already felt it and is already nodding their head saying, yep, I've seen it. Yep, I've seen it. Yep, I've seen it. And anybody that says, no, the old way still work, they do, but you have to do like 300% of the effort for like 80% of the return. And it's getting old. The biggest question I ask an originator is I ask them, how many years have you been in the business? And they'll say 10. And I'll say, does it feel like 10 years or does it feel like 1 month, 120 times? Because that's the life of a salesperson. You get up, you make your phone calls, you go to sleep, you get up, you make up your phone calls, and it's over and over and over again. So what we're also experiencing is this has always been an industry of burnout. I mean, Deb and Todd, how many people have we talked to on a regular basis? That's like, dude, I'm burnt out every single day. Burnout is getting worse because now we're being told to do the same things 3 times the amount, right? I mean, it's like, you look at your Win by Noon pages and you have all those little check boxes. It's like you have to make these extended pages now because you got to like triple the amount of check boxes for people to make to get the different results. It's the Win by Noon legal edition, right?
Which let me tell you, Khai, you probably have not seen the social media edition, but I saw Bill who put get in the DMs. There's a spot in here now where you're prospecting with social media and sending DMs. So if you guys don't have your handy dandy social media edition Win by Noon planner, you need to get in our other program.
Yeah. By the way, I'm just looking at this. Is that, Ron said, can you give some insight why I don't believe this recession won't affect a rate reduction? But like I said, there's no inventory. So what was the biggest phenomenon we saw in 2021? No inventory, multiple offers, right? That's when rates were good. 20 offers per property. Borrowers were like, yeah, I put in an offer on 10 houses and I still haven't found anything. So haven't you noticed that when rates went over 6%, yes, buying slowed down, but people still wanted to buy. As soon as rates barely dipped under 6%, we're back at multiple offers, at 12 offers. And so there's still a shift because you either need to expand marketing that you've never done, or if we did drop back to a 5% rate market, a 4% rate market, competition is going to be crazy because there's no inventory. So I have to ask you, is that what are you going to do to compete not only against other originators, but compete against them when there's 29 offers on a property? Because you're a listing agent, you're going to get 29 properties and you're going to look at 29 pre-approvals and try to figure out who's best, and that's where some of the tools, I don't know how much has been talked about on Win by Noon, but that's where tools like Lender Launchpad is creating separation in offers, because now you have to transition to modern sales tools.
Well, so we should get there. We should definitely talk tech before the call is over, but it reminds me, Deborah, of our interview with Ty Lusk, who's a realtor who runs a, $100 million team. And he said that it was 34 conversations, either live or over the phone, to get an appointment in the first quarter of 2022. And it was 104 conversations or in face-to-face with a client to get an appointment at the end of 2022, right? So you kind of said it, Khai, right? Triple the work. And the crazy part is everyone was already burned out from loans falling out of the sky and writing all those multiple offers during 2020 and 2021. And so this was, now you're working hard and you're not getting those results. At least then you were closing deals and you were making money, and now you're working that hard and you're not making money. So I think that's where the frustration comes in. And I've always joked, doing your, 10 years, is this your 10th year, 10th time doing the first year over? I love your analogy of 120 months.
I don't even know if it's 120 months. It's 365 times 120, because it feels like it's the same day over and over again. Like it's Groundhog Day, right? It's Bill Murray waking up every single day. And this is for the older generation that knows the Groundhog reference. But here's some proof. So I run MMIs on all of my coaching clients. And 10 years ago, you could do 100 units with 15 good referral partners. It's about a 50 to 60% on referral partner ratio right now. So I was running clients that did 178 units. One client, 178 units year to date from 102 referral partners. Over 50, 60 of the referral partners only gave them one for the entire year. And so when you do the math on it, if you want to have a decent, if you want to be a top producer, I always say like it's 100 units and up, right? Like that's where you can really say top producer. Back in the day, it's like, let's just go find 10 to 15 good referral partners. You got to look for 50 to 60 referral partners just to do 100 units now, because they don't have any business. Now, let's just do the math on that. I'm going to meet with them at least to get 50 or 60 referral partners, you're probably going to have to meet with 100, because half of them are going to turn you down. You want to meet with them like 2 or 3 times. How many of you want a daily membership to Starbucks to go 365 times to go to Starbucks? Because that's the old way of doing things. I don't know about you, but I would be bleeding caffeine if I went to Starbucks that many times.
They do sell decaf. They do sell decaf. I think that one's pretty amazing. And there's a very large, well-known coach in our industry. And when I made the post about making 100 calls to realtors last year, he made a comment in the mortgage coach community that you should be able to do that with 10 still. And I'm glad to hear you say that you just can't do it anymore.
They don't have the business. I don't. So, okay. So then there's another train of, mindset that says, if you go after the top realtor producers, you could do 10. Okay. But let's be fair though. We're asking the entire industry to go to the 2% of top producers. Like the math isn't there. That's the problem. The math isn't there. Like you're really talking about outliers that are going to go to the top 10% of the producers in the market to get 10 units from each of them. That's not the case when you have the entire industry. Like the entire industry already knows that top producer is getting 100 calls a week.
Well, I just did the numbers in MMI for Maricopa County, right? So the greater Phoenix area, 80,000 realtors in the last 6 months. 4 buyer side transactions. What do you think, Khai? What number?
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. It was less. It was something like 60% or 70% of realtors have done less than 6 buy side transactions.
It was under 1,500, so 1,481 or 91 or something like that. But I mean, that's crazy if you think about that out of 80,000. So that's why I know you're right when you're saying that unfortunately you got to work a little harder. Plus, I just know the biggest teams in our market, they're using the Zillow Flex program, and they've got a lot of pressure from Zillow if you're getting their lead to not steal them away. And they're also doing their own, one just opened a mortgage company on top of that, and their big Zillow Flex team. Another one just did a joint venture mortgage company. I mean, they're all trying to get in our game. And so really, I think it's the sweet spot's that agent that's doing, 5 to 10 buyer side transactions a year, and they're few and far between, but that's, I think, the opportunity.
It's a sweet spot. But listen, one of my clients, he's also one of my coaches, Tyler Osby, he did in 2021, he did 500 transactions. And I want to say in 2022, he hates it when I talk about his numbers, but I want to say in 2022, he still surpassed, 300. But what I'm telling you is that even for him to do over 300 units in 2022, it was over 150 realtors. So if he said, okay, forget the onesie twosie realtors, I'm only going to work with the realtors that did like 6 to 10 transactions, he would have done like 120 units. You see what I'm saying? Like he needed those onesie twosie. When I say onesie twosie realtors, I don't mean per month. That's like per year.
Yeah.
Just to get him to hit 70% of the prior year's transactions.
So there were only 4,981 who had done 2 buyer side transactions out of 80,000 in the last 6 months. And so, I totally agree. You probably remember RJ Crosby. I mean, RJ, that was kind of really probably still builds his business on it. But I know a decade ago, he was the number one producer in Maricopa County for mortgages. And he targeted agents who did 1 to 4 transactions a year because they did such a great job of converting that lead, right? It was their neighbor, it was their coworker, it was their brother, and that was someone from their sphere. And so they could hand that over with great trust to their loan officer. And he just crushed it doing that. And everyone else was like, nope, have 10 people. And he's like, nope, I got hundreds of agents referring me.
But let's go deeper, right? So you get a meeting with the agent, but agents are getting younger and younger too. So now you're dealing with these 35-year-old real estate agents that are coming out. They're coming with good marketing. So somebody asked me this question too, and they said, do young buyers, because buyers are younger now. I mean, buyers are, you figure they're kind of like in the same age category, so it's generation change, right? So you got a 35-year-old buyer, 35-year-old buyer that just got married. They want to have, they want to have a house and everything. Somebody asked me this question. They said, do young buyers prefer young lenders? Well, I think a better question is, do young buyers prefer young realtors? And generally, I think my answer is yes, because 2 things. Number one is that where they're finding their realtors is going to be off of social media platforms and things like that. So if you're an older realtor and you don't have that presence, the young buyer is not going to find you. 2, when I'm going into neighborhoods and I want to talk to my real estate agent about my lifestyle, my needs, the type of places that I want somebody probably closer, if not to my age, at least my generational thoughts, to understand that. And I'm not trying to be ageist, but what I'm saying is that if you are older, how are you making yourself appealing to the younger buyer so that you're in the same way relatable to them? Because if they can't text you, if they don't see your Instagram social presence, if they can't see those things in online reviews, they're not going to relate to you. If you don't have like the virtual walkthroughs and the Zoom walkthroughs and things like that. So the younger realtors, now you got to ask yourself the question, who do the younger realtors that are technologically advanced, that have the social presence, who do they want to work with? The younger, more adaptable lender.
Well, it's also because if you look at their tolerance level, because they were basically born with an iPad in their hand, that's kind of the why when I'm working with clients, they may be a boomer and it's such friction and it's hard for them to adopt, social media or being on camera. It should, because you weren't given these tools until much later in life. Whereas this younger demographic, they were basically born with an iPad in their hand. But when you look at brand lock-in and brand loyalty, the Gen Zs and the younger millennials, they are quick to jump brands because they have very little tolerance. Like if your website takes a long time to load, they're already on to the next. If you don't have a social presence, if you don't have ways that they can chat with you on ease, then they move on because they just don't have the same tolerance. Because you got to remember too, they're great. And I know there's no such thing as multitasking, but they are used to streaming something live while researching a homework assignment and writing an article all at the same time. So their ability to process things is much quicker because they're used to constantly being distracted. Where if you don't remove the friction and the ease of being able to communicate with you, or you don't have the tech to make that digital part of the experience, they're going to move on. And we're seeing less and less brand loyalty because of that.
And attention span, right? So here's a couple of charts that I want to show you. So this was a chart that Denise, Deb, and we've shared in a couple of places, but look at the influence over the generations and how much social media, which is this orange line, how much that has, I'm missing this part, but in Gen Z, it shoots like way up to the top. I got to reformat that. And the second thing that I want you to notice is influencer marketing. This darker kind of amber line in Gen Z, it shoots up to the top too. So right now, the younger generations are being influenced by 2 things: social media, because of social media validation, but also influencers. So what does influencer mean? It means they're being influenced by personalities, right? Whether it's like,
which is not celebrities, by the way. You don't pay for like those big name celebrities to be in your influencer marketing anymore, because influencers to them are the new celebrities who you see on TikTok.
But the influencers today are us. It's the people that can be mortgage celebrities, mortgage leaders. So when you're creating a social media presence, you have a responsibility to be a leader, to have a voice. Like people ask me all the time, and I'm sure they ask you all the time, Deb, like, what should I post? What should I post? Well, what I don't want to post is just generic mortgage information and videos and just things that people can just Google and research. But if I'm coming off as a personality, as a leader, and saying, this is what I recommend to you, this is the advice that I'm going to give you, so this is where your advice and your leadership in the industry, and you can have opinions like, where do you think the market is going and what is it going to take to win an offer and what is it going to take for you to find your dream home? When you can have those opinions, and here's the thing, whether you're right or wrong, you will have a following according to these demographics, right? Second thing, the attention span is super, super low. Okay. So you're a listing agent. You're like a millennial. By the way, millennials are 40 now. Okay. So you're a 38-year-old, 35-year-old millennial listing agent. You're going to get 27 offers. If you see 27 PDFs that says, dear so-and-so, my bank has this approved at 300,000, they're going to be like, they all look the same. So they're just going to look at like down payment and stuff like that. So then the old generation says, oh, no, I call all of my listing agents. Well, good luck having a millennial even pick up the phone, because that's what happens on every single, listing that they do. They're going to get 27, 50 phone calls for all the offers. So that's where, again, I don't know how much you've talked about it, but that's where like you send like lender launchpad presentations, because you can text them, you can email them, where you have this full multimedia presentation with the approval letter, with a narrative, and then you have supporting video. I mean, they just look beautiful. I can text this, I can email this to people. And my first thing is just to get the attention span of a newer generation agent that you're working with. And so this is where even sales goes to a modern level. Like you have to utilize the tools that are out there, and you have to tell yourself. And somebody asked me the question, says, well, Khai, I'm 50 years old, I'm 40 years old, I'm 60 years old. I haven't gotten on the bandwagon. And sometimes I'm really blunt with people and I say, well, that's kind of your fault, because Windows 95 came out like in 1995. Like the iPhone came out in like 2007. We've had a long time to get used to technology. You know what I mean?
And even social media.
Right.
It's like, how long has Facebook been around? So why aren't you on there?
Yeah. The referral, meaning a new buyer no longer, is this simply a shift in who is able to refer? Are new buyers no longer looking for agents to refer? I don't know that I understand the gist of that question.
So is this simply a shift in who is able to refer, meaning are new buyers no longer looking for agents? So should they still be expecting referrals? Like, should our main referral sources still be real estate agents?
I believe so, because number one, at the end of the day, you know what's sexy? Real estate. You know what's not sexy? Mortgages, right? And if I'm going to go on Instagram, I want to educate myself about mortgages, but I love seeing flybys and virtuals. And now we've got drone images of housing coming in, right? So I am going to follow a lot of real estate agents. But the reality is that when it comes to marketing, I think a lot of people say, well, should I go consumer direct? Should I go real estate agent? And I think a lot of people sometimes say, well, I don't like real estate agents, so I want to go consumer direct. It's really, really hard to avoid real estate agents, because even if you go consumer direct, there's a real estate agent that you have to win over, at least so that they do business your way. Otherwise, you're going to have this consumer that has a rogue real estate agent that might even refer you to a lender that they like, right? So that happens. So you have to win over realtors at some point in time or another. But also there's leveraging issues, because with consumer direct, do you really want to set your target market at like 10,000 consumer direct, or would you rather set it at like 2,000 realtors, because each of those realtors has like a 200 to 500 person database? I think one of the best strategies is to actually have your as a loan officer, is to have your messaging be consumer direct, but you're targeting realtors so that realtors share your information and make your information viral to their influence, because they're ultimately going to be referring the people to you and directing people to like your home buying seminars and education pieces and things like that. Like when I follow a ton of realtors on social media intentionally, and every single one of them shares a loan officer informational post. So they're not just talking about real estate, because if we're putting out the right information, we're talking about the economy, we're talking about rates, we're talking about multiple offers, and especially nowadays, because the price point of homes is getting so expensive that we have to look at FHA, we have to look at VA, we have to look at different programs. And so this is not an area that realtors are good with. So they're still looking for loan officer education. And so if they see good loan officer education, they're going to then reshare it with their base. And so because realtors are so leveraged with their database of anywhere from 50 to 500, yeah, I'm going to go after 1,000 agents, And sheer size too. if I were to ask everybody on this call, how many realtors are you marketing to on a regular basis? And when I say regular basis, I'm talking every 72 hours. The average answer that I've gotten is maybe 50 to 150. If you look at the, yeah.
So when you say marketing every 72 hours, what would you do every 72 hours?
That would be some type of marketing piece that's going to go out to direct communication. That might be email, text, voicemail. And there's tools for you to do that. You can use Bonzo, Slide Dial, MailChimp, things like that. But there's also your social posts. So if you have a good following on social, your IG stories, because you can see how many are hitting your IG stories, how many are watching your IG stories, your Facebook stories. Because you
Can
really
I just say with that, don't forget each post has its own URL. So if you're trying to grow your following on social, send a mass email out and hyperlink it to maybe a post that you made that would be easy for the agent to share for their own piece of content. I think people don't leverage their social enough, even in other mediums of how they're communicating to agent partners, but also driving them back to a hub where they can grow their following too.
So the net has to be much wider. So if you're barely reaching out to, 50 to 100, I mean, you really want your net to be north of 500, preferably 1,000, or more, because you're trying to create a brand. You're trying to create name. For example, age-old example, why do realtors put their faces on bus benches? Or why did they? It wasn't necessarily to get that wasn't, see, we're so geared to think sales, like, did it get you any leads? No, realtors know that it's all about brand recognition and marketing. There was a study that they had some fake realtor, they put them up on bus benches for like a year, and they asked the city, who's the number one realtor, Hoff, whatever. They all said it's this dude, and it was like a fake dude, So you want to be known as the number one loan officer in your area, the best loan officer in your area. So that's where it's marketing. And so you're not marketing to 150 realtors because you want leads from them. You have to market to the 1,000 realtors in your area so that everybody knows you, because not only are you looking for recognition and eventually referrals, but you need name and brand recognition because you got the listing agent that's going to take your offer. You got a buyer that's going to bring their own agent, and they want to recognize you. You've got people that will refer you. And if your brother, your cousin, your coworker has heard you, that referral is going to be a lot stronger. Every single realtor in your local area or whatever your target areas need to know your name. And so now you're looking at, what are the marketing tools? What are the modern marketing tools that I can do that? Because we don't have to do print anymore, right? And all the areas that I've named, especially social. And social, I want to like reprogram the way people think about social. I think people think about social as like, oh, we're sharing photos and food pictures and people are dancing on TikTok, pointing and things like that. And I'm saying this to the older generation because I think the younger generation like gets social. But again, I know I look 27, but I grew up an 80s kid. I would grow up watching Saturday morning cartoons. I was a Toys R Us kid, which means that I was influenced all my buying decisions, whether I drank Mountain Dew because I was like a cool skateboarder, by watching commercials on television. Well, the only time you watch television now is either you're watching sports or you're watching Netflix. So most people spend their time on here. This is the television of today. You just have to think about it differently. This is the television of today. And what's the average hours, Deb, that people are spending on their phones? It's like
7.5
hours. I don't even know people that spent 7.5 hours watching television, right? Like maybe like Saturday morning for kids. So if you're 7.5 hours on here, think to yourself, what would it cost to get a commercial on television back in the day? Or if you're commuting for 2 hours a day, what would it cost to be on the radio? So now just ask yourself a question. If your consumers are going to be on here 7 hours a day, what does it cost to get in the front of their face? And that's why we have social, because you can do it for free. You can do it for cheap. If I can get a video in front of their face, if I can get a post in front of their face, if I can get, a YouTube channel or something in front of their face, I can email a PDF offer, but if I can text a lender launchpad pre-approval presentation, which is going to show up on their phone and they can sit there and they can clack and watch the videos, I'm buying their brain cells. And that's how you have to look at it. And one other thing to the older generation, I think that because we grew up with like film, and like everything was like so polished. So that's why we have this whole thing about like looking great, because we're thinking like the film.
Like it's the Oscars because they.
Oh yeah, like it's the Oscars. What they think. Yeah, cinematography. But it's like the new generation, man, it's a 15-second TikTok video. And I don't care that you see the dishes in the back and you're sitting in your car. Like, that's totally fine. We're in an authentic world. And so I think people have to get over themselves, in terms of getting on video. And so I'm a bullet train when it comes to this topic, Todd. And I know you're just having me go.
Widest I've been on a webinar, and I'm enjoying it. I'm just loving it. And I'll let you guys keep talking, and I'm just taking notes. I'm already on my second page of notes and coming up with my own action plan of ideas for my team. So this is perfect.
I have a question for you, Khai, because I hear this all the time from people who assume their social media is not working because they're so trained to look at those vanity metrics of whether it's direct leads, which is a challenge because a lot of this is behavioral influence. And what I mean by that for those listening is you may see on a lead form, like, how did you find out about me? And it may say, oh, real estate agent, but that may not have been what influenced them to make the decision to now feel safe enough to contact you. So for some, they're like, but I only have, say, 900 followers and I get 2 views. And I know those are family members and only one person likes it. So I don't think this social media thing is working and I'm just going to quit. So what would be your advice to those who, whether they've been trying for maybe a couple months and they don't think that they're seeing results yet? What would be?
Okay. This is actually a perfect question because it's kind of like a lead up for what I want to talk about. By the way, this is my iPad. And if you're not interacting with people and drawing, again, this is like a modern technique of teaching, right? So typically we have loan officers that sit here. Maybe some of them have a dress. So we'll do like a half dress. And what typically happens is we're told to do things. Okay, just stuff. This could be a call. This could be Instagram. This could be, I don't know, a text. It's just a bunch of stuff. And so the way loan officers see it is like, oh, wait, you're asking me to do like a bunch of stuff every single day, right? So first of all, it creates like this, every loan officers, we immediately think it's going to create a lead. Everything is all like going to create a lead. If I do all these things, it's going to come to leads. And the reason why loan officers have this kind of lazy attitude is because these are also agents, and it's kind of like, I'm the salesperson. I'm going to do some things. I want to get a lead. Loan officers really haven't been taught to market. Okay. So what you have to realize is that there's kind of like a pecking order. There's kind of like it really sits like this. So if I were to take this blank piece of paper and marketing is up here and sales is down here, this is like long-term and this is short-term. So things that are closer to marketing are going to take more long-term. Things that are closer to sales take more short-term. And what they do is from the top, you have things like branding, and then you have like value, and then you have interaction. And then finally you get the meeting, and then you get the sale, and things trickle this way. So when you're doing IG and branding and bus benches, that's all stuff that's like up here. And down here, this is like the meeting. This could be the Zoom. This could be the class. And so there's like this trickle down effect. But in order to do that, the numbers have to scale correctly because you're going to have like a one sale here, but maybe for one person, but like a 10-to-1 Zoom here, you might have 50 people in the class, which means you might need 100 videos, which means your branding needs to be 1,000. And that's why I say if you start at 100, by the time it trickles down, it turns into like 0. Okay. So this is me drawing it, but this is like the best way to look at it. This is my sales funnel. This is my marketing funnel, right? Typically what happens is that in the mortgage industry, we've been very, very caught in this area, which is like consumer sales and one-on-one sales with realtors. And there's this whole world of marketing up here that we kind of neglect. And then in the middle, we have this world of like classes and webinars. And the thing is, we treat every single one of them like separately as if I'm going to do this and all of a sudden it's going to turn into a lead and a lead and a lead. But that's not how that works. The way it works is it trickles down this way, this way, this way, this way, and this way. Okay. So if I were to take all of this out in the short term, yeah, you want to call leads and then you want to call your realtors and then you decide, oh, I'm going to do a class and then I'm going to do marketing. That's very, very uphill because you're coming from a sales mentality. But if you look at it the other way, from the long term, it's I'm going to build a list. I'm going to market to my list. I'm going to create an engagement group. That's going to trickle down to my classes. That trickles down to my one-on-one meetings. That trickles down to my leads. You have to understand, if you've heard the word marketing sales funnel, that's what it means. The higher you are up in the marketing, the more long-term it is. Shorter term is in sales. Midterm, and I think which is like the most important part, is when you have group interaction. So a lot of times the part that like bridges the gap between marketing and sales is midterm interaction. And what that is when I've noticed this in podcasts a lot. I'll get on a podcast like this or a webinar like this, and there could be 200 people, there could be 2,000 people. I've been on stage, I've been on shows. I've been on events where there's been like 3,000 people, and I do my thing and they say, well, Khai, how can we get a hold of you? And I say, go to my website, contact me. And I get like 4 people contacting me about coaching, right? Because you're going from a very non-threatening venue to like, wait, I have to like be in a position for him to sell me. It's a lot of conflict. There's a middle tier that a lot of people miss, which is the non-threatening interactive, which is, I'm a big proponent of small group webinars, Facebook groups, events, things like that, because you're saying you want to interact with me a little bit more without getting the generic message. And I want to teach you a little bit more. So now come to my event. Like, I believe everybody should be doing like classes and webinars and Zoom meetings like twice a month, because it's very easy to invite realtors and borrowers and prospective homeowners to your home buyer class, to your realtor mastermind groups, to things like that, because now they get to interact with you a little bit more and still a non-threatening. And again, because you're just like funneling it down. And then from there, once you've interacted with people in a more personal environment, calling them is easy one-on-one, because now you've had the questions back and forth. And so I do that too. It's like, I'll be on something like this. And then if you want to learn a little bit more, for people to call me directly about coaching, that's very threatening. So then I hold like little seminars, 10, 20 people, 30 people in a seminar. We kind of go deep into coaching. And then from there, I get to know people better. There's a lot more Q&A. And then you just keep, because you want to go from like big to smaller, to smaller, to smaller, to smaller, to smaller. Everything is not just taking a rifle and just picking people off. You have to understand the relationships in, so here's like the old school method. The old school method was, I saw something on television. So then I go to Circuit City and then from Circuit City, I'm going to like make a sale. There's always an intermediate, you know what I'm saying? It's not like I saw it on television and I called some sales and I bought the thing right away. It's like, well, now let me go to the store and let me kind of touch it, And so that, I think that answers your question a little bit. I think the problem is, Deb, is that everybody looks at things as short-term sales. If I put up a social media, then it's going to turn into a lead. When it's not, you have different levels. You have marketing, value, interaction, evaluation, and then sale. And it works down the sales funnel. And sales funnels, marketing funnel, sales funnels have been around, again, forever. But our industry, we're very late to it. We're very late to our technology. And there's a lot of different reasons for that, but we don't have a choice anymore. With a lack of inventory, with the new generation coming in, with technology coming in, I think every single one of us in the last year has been faced with, nope, we don't got a choice anymore. And some of us have left the industry. I mean, this is like a do or die state. And I'm watching, it's funny, 2023, there's blips of like, okay, it's coming back, but like, don't get too excited, because it'll come back for like a month or two. And all of a sudden, all it takes is, we just had 2 banks shut down. We had Signatures, Silicon Valley Bank. It's like, something's going to pull it back. Right. So this is like a new age. Right. And so when I look at, for example, your product, Win by Noon, it's like, just kind of a play off words. It's small wins by noon too, as well as large wins by noon, because your small win by noon, I think, Deb, you said there's like a social media version. So it's about getting your branding out, getting your value out, getting your education out. And I think right now, especially for people that say, I don't like to sell. That's the problem with like going after realtors and saying, I want to sit with you and sell. Marketing is great because you don't sell. You educate, you inform, and you lead. And if you make the net wide enough and big enough, people will approach you and say, I appreciated everything that you've said. The referral of the future sounds like this. I've been watching you on social. I was sent a link, a video. Somebody shared this. Somebody shared a post. So I started following you. I've been following you for 6 weeks. And based on the information, based on your expertise, based on your online reviews. So my top people have over 1,000 reviews online, not 15, 20 reviews, like 1,000 5-star reviews. Based on all of that, I would like to talk to you about being my mortgage person. And that referral will come out of the mouths of both consumers and real estate agents. You know, and you said to me, Deb, you said, well, should we only work with realtors that we like? And I'm like, that's when you're chasing realtors and they're kind of being assholes to you. But like when they're a fan of yours, it's completely different because they're ready to give you business. They're ready to work with you. And it's a completely new era.
Well, it reminds me of, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Ladies first.
I was going to say, what's funny is, so Denise has over 6,000 real estate agents that she markets to every week on her weekly emails. What's ironic, and I know this because Jordan works for her and does her front end stuff, is every week she's getting real estate agents that aren't in her database because he's having to create new records in her CRM. That the conversation starts with a lead from them. It's not a request of a meeting. And she has asked and had her team ask, do you want to schedule a meeting to learn a little bit about, our process and blah, blah. And they're like, no, they trust her because of the consistency and time that she has proven with social, where now she's getting leads and attracting agents without even having to meet with them. So when Khai, you mentioned about being in 5 different states, it's like, I want people to know that this is possible. Now, I will say with time, because this didn't happen overnight with her, and it did require consistency. It's not, because I have a lot of people that will do calls with me and they're like, I want what Denise has. And I'm like, well, she started in 2012 on her social media game, and you have to be willing to do what she does to get to where she's at now. But it is possible where you can be attracting leads from real estate agents who are the ones out fishing all day. You just clean the fish. If you can build the brand and actually have a brand. So sorry, I cut you off, Todd.
Well, no, it's just perfect. Actually, it was a great segue into what I was going to say is when we interviewed Keith Collins, ironically, and your sister last January, 2022 on the Mortgage Coach channel, Keith talked about how before he moved from California to Tennessee, how he started building his social media up and how he started targeting agents there. So by the time he got there, he had top agents who were like, it's about time you reach out to me. He had done all the interacting that you always teach people to do. And so I think it's just really important to think about the fact that, right, the best time to plant an elm tree was 20 years ago. The next best time is today. And so I would encourage you to jump on, Khai's webinars. He's making it inexpensive for you to hear more of his magic. I think when I think of Khai, I think of tactical, right? A lot of coaches are more motivational or, kind of theoretical. And he's just, hey, like take action. Here's what you got to do. And I that's the thing I appreciate about Khai a lot.
Yeah. So in the webinar, I talk about these, but then I go into like very specifics, like how to hold events, how to send out the invites, what to post. I go over the lender launchpad, actual samples of how to win offers, how to promote yourself. And I'm going to do this too. I'm going to create a promo code. It's going to be win by noon, and I'll take $50 off if anybody uses that promo code. Okay. So, I have Denise's numbers because one of the things too, if you attend, I'm going to give you a bonus. I did an interview with Denise because like Denise and Deb and I, we were kind of like all separated at birth. Like I'm like the third twin who's not blonde and female, the third triplet. But anyways, like
the bird and the turd.
Yeah, right.
Maybe we're quads.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So when I first met her, we sat, we talked. And it's like, oh my gosh, we have the same business model, even though like we didn't study. And I wrote this down in the notes, and I'll send anybody that attends a free recording of me and Denise talking for 45 minutes about her business model and how it aligns with what I'm talking about. But 6,600 real estate agents, 12,000 IG followers, 3,000 YouTube subscribers, and a database of 10,000 people. She's marketing to 30,000 people on a regular basis. Plus she has 8,600 in her Nerd alum. And when she does events, she's filling them up 200 to 300 at a time. So you sit there and you wonder how she did 600 units last year in the 2022 market. Her net is so much bigger than everybody else's. And in the interview, she said in her first 5 years of her career, her goal wasn't just to meet an agent and get leads. It was to get an agent, put them in her database, and then let Deb market the crap out of them and create all of that brand and business loyalty. And look what's been built. I mean, she got to 200 units, and it wasn't overnight, but she still got to 200 units in about 5 years, 4 to 5 years. But I do have a client right now, Crystal Stearns. Some of you may have heard of her. She did 400 units last year. She's in the Colorado Springs market. Only 90 of her units was in Colorado Springs. The other 310 or so are in 4 different states. And that's because her market is saturated. So she didn't have a choice. So she could have sat there. She could have felt sorry for herself and done 80, 90 units, but she says, no, I'm not going out that way. And she expanded to different states. And you know what? She didn't have to drive there, fly there. A lot of these realtors, she's never met more than a phone conversation, a FaceTime, or a Zoom meeting.
What was her name again, Khai?
Crystal Stearns with a K.
I just had a call with her.
Yeah.
All right. So let's real quick too, because I love your question, Sandy. How do you manage to stay calm and not get overwhelmed? And I think that's where I bring the Win by Noon piece into it. What I found is that for me to be effective, to do the things I needed to do every day, I had to actually protect myself from myself, right? When I was originating, I want to be a yes man. I want to help every realtor, every client, every team member when they want and how they want. And what happened was I would get to the end of the day and I'd say, oh crap, those 4 things were non-negotiable I had to get done today. It's 5 o'clock. I got to get home to my family, and I didn't get them done. And so all I did was flip it. I just said, hey, you know what? Before I respond and react to everyone else, I'm just going to get those 4 things done first. And then it doesn't matter what I do the rest of the day. And so I would be thinking about the things that Khai is talking about, and I would just do those before you allow everything else to interfere with what your day is going to be, because those things will still be there, right? I mean, it's a lead who calls you at 8:01 is going to be there if you call them at 10:01 or 11:01 or 12:01. They're not going anywhere, but we all think they're going to. If they're referred into the right way by a referral partner who has set up the value proposition for why they need to talk to you, they're still going to be there. You can just send them a quick text back, hey, in a meeting, I'll call you as soon as I can. And that doesn't matter if as soon as you can is in 30 minutes or an hour and 30 minutes or 3 hours and 30 minutes, they know you're going to call them back. And so I think you just have to be comfortable knowing that you don't have to be on demand, that you're in demand.
Yeah. So I saw this in a meme someplace that if you're overwhelmed, then write everything down. And I think that when you have tools like Win by Noon, you're able to write things down. You're able to track your progress. You're able to plan. I love just using my iPad because when I'm overwhelmed with stuff, I just start writing things down. And then it's amazing how you can just organize your thoughts. And if you're underwhelmed, then read. You don't have enough ideas, read and consume. So that's where you're going to go through all of the, so let's say you wake up one day, you're like, I don't know what to do. You know how many interviews Todd and Deb has done? Like, that's really valuable. Then consume until you get information. Then when you feel overwhelmed, now start to write down your thoughts and organize yourself and use a lot of tools. I created this. Can
I just make that a small plug for everyone to please like and subscribe Win by Noon YouTube channel? As we're trying to grow subscribe. So if you have not clicked the little bell notification every time that we record something, it'll go into the Win by Noon YouTube channel and it'll notify you if you've hit the subscribe button and notification bell. So small plug.
Yes.
You know what? It's our show, Deb. We can plug all we want. Just kidding. We don't want to plug too much.
But I create, one of the things that I do is, again, I just kind of notice these patterns, and I'm like the systems organization guy. Like I'm not making up these things. I'm just observing things and then creating charts and behavior systems to guide people. And that's basically what you did, Todd. You're like, well, you notice a certain pattern of behavior. So if I created a guide that just kind of helps people. And again, I'm just going to say that, like, let me go back to this chart. I never said that certain people's ways don't work. But what I'm saying is that you limit yourself when you only do this or right. And I don't even think I need to prove that to everybody. We've all been in this industry the last 2 years. It's hard. but like, if the advice is, it's hard, you just got to dig deep. You got to work harder. Everybody's sitting there saying, yeah, I heard that, but that's not helping me. like, what's the actual plan? And the plan is this is the saying that I've kind of coined. You win with modern sales, you dominate with modern marketing. You have to bring marketing back in the mix, but you have to do it in a way that makes sense. That's like very logically funneled.
Love it. Hey, someone's asking just to confirm, is the code for the discount on your upcoming event, Win by Noon, all spelled out?
All one word. Yes. I already created it while we were talking.
Look at you, multitasker. Look at that.
I gotta stay young, I gotta stay quick.
And we do have Billy Carver, who's raised his hand. I don't know.
Hey, Billy, just go ahead and type in chat what your question is, because we don't have the ability to bring you on in, but we would love your question. So, I mean, this hour has almost flown by, and I always want to make sure that we put a bow on it, that we didn't miss anything, Khai, that you thought was going to be really important. I think the number one thing is evolveordiewebinar.com. Use the code Win by Noon. Thanks, Khai, for doing that for our listeners. I think that's a great opportunity for you to dig a little deeper with Khai and everything that he does. Again, Rita's asking, it's evolveordiewebinar.com. If you scroll up in the chat, you will see that, Rita, and we'll make sure we put it into Facebook and also when this goes live up. But if you just remember that Evolve or Die webinar, then anything else that Khai has, it'll forward to that next event.
Yeah, I basically just I redirect the URL to like the latest event. Let me just put it back out there. In terms of like doing events to consumer direct or agents, it's both, right? Because you want to give back.
This is for your question, Julie, just FYI.
You want to mastermind to your agents. You want to help them with their business. You also want to collaborate with your agents, do like collaborative marketing. And Deb's got all the tricks with like collaborative IG posts and things like that, right? But then you're going to do your consumer direct because that's how you're going to create leads. And then the agents that you've collaborated with, it gives them an opportunity to send you leads in a not just I'm going to send you. Think about it this way. A lot of agents, they're nurturing leads too, and they don't have a way of nurturing leads. So this helps them nurture leads because they're going to send leads to your webinar. Like Todd's taking pictures at the same time. So you want to do both. And again, I'm here just to make an awareness. And this is like the last chart that I'm going to put up. It's like, this is like the adoption curve, So you have like innovators and early adopters and like where do you sit on the adoption curve? Like really ask yourself this question. Have you been like behind the curve when it comes to adopting to new times? And we haven't even gotten into AI and chat GPT and all that stuff. Like it's getting super, super crazy. If you've been on the right side of the curve, you got to get on the left side of the curve because this chasm right here, it's getting like wider and wider and wider. And it's just going to start. It's like those little animations with the lemmings just falling off the cliff because it's like the sheep just falling off the cliff. And it's just really understanding that. And again, I don't have to prove any of this. I think you guys are already going through this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just here to remind you like the direction that it's going to go.
So Khai, I couldn't help but notice I'm super just fangirling over here that Atlanta is on this call, who happens to be one of the best regionals on the planet. If someone wanted to book you and do like a big webinar, maybe to her region, how could they go about getting in contact with you in order to do that?
So I have a URL for everything. So couple places. You can go to my website, which is KhaiMcBride.com. But if you want to meet with me, I have a URL, meetwithkai.com. And you can set, so that's if you specifically want to talk to me about like specific things, please go to meetwithkai.com. But if you're actually asking me about like my coaching programs and things like that, go to Khai McBride because I have a process for setting up an appointment, taking a questionnaire and things like that. But it's fine. I'll take any contacts and I'll redirect people. Also too, add me on social. So I have Khai McBride. Most of my social handles, Khai McBride, but on Instagram and Facebook, Khai McBride Coach. You want to add both of them because one's personal, one's business. So if you want to see like a bunch of golf photos and things like that, go to my personal.
Golfing means,
Yeah, just
maker stuff.
I do jokes all the time. Yeah. I'm the only Khai. This is so far still my claim to fame. I'm the only Khai McBride in the world, so it's a lot easier to find me. And DM me. I mean, we can just have conversations on the side too. DM me on Facebook, on IG. I'm on Twitter too, but I don't really go on Twitter as much just to see banter when celebrities are doing weird things.
That is perfect. All right. Well, first off, I want to thank all of you for being here listening. If you're listening to this on YouTube, go ahead and give us a like and subscribe, like Deborah said. If you're listening to us on your favorite podcast place, since we're not advertising, the best thing that you can do for us is subscribe and leave us a 5-star review, because I think Khai earned it for us today. And of course, Khai, thank you. I'm so grateful for you and your friendship. It was fun seeing you and hanging out in Vegas at the Modern Mortgage, Modern Real Estate Summit last week. Really glad that you could attend. And Deborah, as always, couldn't do this without you. So you rock. And we've got a great guest for next week. I forgot who it is, but somebody that you arranged. It's really cool.
I'm wearing my windbreaker next time too.
All right,
Oh,
well,
and did you see in the picture, I had blonde hair.
I did notice that.
My
It was
blonde
awesome.
wig that I use in every Halloween.
That is awesome. We all need a blonde wig.
Yep.
All right, everyone. Thank you all. This one is a wrap. We will see you next week. Same time, same place. You all rock.